Okay, so this is about creating the look of a tear down someone's face. It can be for two halves of something. It doesn't have to be the same face. You could have something different on each side, but this is the effect that we're going for. So the thing that you'll need to save with this is the portrait of whoever you're using, and if you're using two, then obviously both of them, and you'll have to merge them in the middle, and a tear. So a tear I have put onto the PowerPoint, but it's these sort of things, one with a half white and a half black. So once you've saved them, you're going to open them up into Photoshop. So I've got my portrait here and I've got my tear here. So on my portrait page, I'm just going to make sure that it's a good size. So rescale it so it's nice and big and fills the page, and then unlock your layer. Do exactly the same on this one, unlock it, get your move tool, keep your finger down, drag it up over the top of your other layer, bring it down and then let go. So I've now got my torn half over the top of my portrait. So I want to resize my tear. So I'm going to go to Control if you're on a Windows, Command if you're on a Mac, and T, and that will allow me to drag the size up. If you are, if you want, you can go to Edit and Free Transform for the same command. So I'm going to bring it down so that the tear is over my face. If you want to see through where you're placing it, just bring your opacity down so that this means my tear here is quite central. It goes around the edge of her nose. It's completely up to you where your tear goes. So I'll leave my tear at that, and then I'm going to bring it back up to 100%. The next thing that you can do then is you're going to get rid of your white side. So make sure that you're on the right layer, get your magic wand tool, click on your white, and then literally just press delete. Okay, so now you've got rid of that white side. Now we need to get rid of these dotty lines. So I'm just going to deselect. Control if I'm on a Windows, again Command if I'm on a Mac, and D, which will deselect. The next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to erase around the edge of this tear, but leaving a little bit of the black so it looks a little bit like a shadow. So I'm going to go to my eraser, and the eraser that I've chosen is one that is quite a soft edge. If I've got a hard edge, it won't look as realistic. So one with a nice soft edge. You can play about with your size and your hardness, but this is the eraser that I have chosen. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to use my square bracket to make them bigger or smaller. So I'm just going to do this nice and big because I'm going to start off on the edge here. So I'm just going to delete these bits which I know that I definitely don't want. Then as I get closer, I need to be a little bit more careful, and again I can play about with the size of my eraser when I'm doing this. So I'm going to pull it down, and you need to kind of take a little bit of time to do this, otherwise it might look a bit odd. So I'm going to keep going down. It doesn't all need to be the same width because obviously it's a tear and it's a shadow. And I'm going to get rid of this. It's up to you whether you want the tear to go actually into her head, and it's also up to you if you want it to kind of stop in elements. If you did want a different thing on the other half, I'll show you how to do that after. So there's my tear going down. If you want to make it a little bit more realistic and go with the kind of distortion of her neck, I could do something like get this polygonal lasso, and I can literally just make sure that you're on the right layer. I'm just going to draw around this cut bit here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to layer via cut. So now I've got two different parts of my cut. So if I can get rid of this, that's the face bit, and this bit here is the neck bit. So when I've got my neck bit on, I'm literally just going to go to the move tool and I'm going to move the neck bit slightly over to the left. By moving it over to the left, it's going to give the illusion that it's kind of going underneath her. You can do a similar sort of thing for the head one if you want. So you can again get your polygonal lasso. Let me just go up a bit. Draw around a bit on the head, right click, layer via cut. So now it's on this top bit here, and then you can go to edit, and you can go to, rather than free transform, you can go to transform and you can go to skew or distort, and that will allow you to drag it. So I'm just going to drag it to the side, and you can just kind of move it to match the curve of her thing. Transform, maybe warp will allow me to get a better curve. So I'm just going to pull it round her head along with her hair line so it looks a little bit more realistic like this. Okay, so that is how you will do this part of it. So you can either save it and you can leave it like that. So file, as you're saving it, make sure that you're saving it as a JPEG, otherwise it will save as a Photoshop file. So tear in face 1. Okay, so moving on from that, we need to work out how we can make the other half black and white, which is what I've done on the other one. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use my magnetic lasso this time. I'm going to go to the tear and I'm going to start here and I'm just literally going to go along the tear, and because it's a magnetic lasso it will pick up the edges, and then I'm just going to have to be a little bit more careful as I go around this. I'm clicking as I go along, depending on which bits that I want black and white. And I'm going to have all of this black and white. All of this black and white. Oh, I've missed a bit of her hair. Right click, layer via copy. Oh, sorry. Go back to your magnetic lasso. I'm going to go to this, make sure that I'm on my portrait. I'm going to right click. I'm going to layer via a copy. So now I've got, if I get rid of this, half of my face, which is on a copy. And then I'm literally just going to go to image. I'm going to go to adjustments and I'm going to desaturate it, which will make it black and white. Okay, so as you can see there, I missed a few bits when I was going around the edge. So just be a bit more careful than me when you're doing that. And that's how you'd create a black and white. If you wanted two different faces, a bit like split, what you would do is when you've cut out the half, you would do it with the another face and you would layer that in. So if you need further help with that, let me know and I can show you how to merge two faces. Okay, so that is how you will create a split in the face using